Thank you, sir. I'm Pastor Terry Fox, and we host the Answering the Call radio show on Sunday nights. And Jeff, I wanted you to answer this, and then Karl, you might respond. There are a lot of us here that were very disappointed, Jeff, in your vote for the Agenda 21. We let that be known. A lot of people let you guys know that we were concerned about Agenda 21. We were disappointed that many of the commissioners, as well as the City Council, blew off all the people who took time to go down there and speak. My question, Jeff, would you rescind your vote on Agenda 21? And in the future, will you listen to people when they come with legitimate concerns? We'd appreciate you responding to that, and also, Karl, your response to that also.
Reverend, let me start off by saying I think I always listen to people. I think we had all of 7 people come down and address the council that day that we took up that issue for a vote. And I took notes from all 7 of them. When we took up that issue for a vote at our Wichita Area Metropolitan Planning Organization meeting that is published far in advance, and my opponent even said on that same committee briefly, there was not a single person in opposition to voice their concerns on that. Number one, I don't consider it Agenda 21. I consider it a planning grant, just like many of the other communities in this state have utilized, including the Flint Hills, Kansas City area, and our regional economic area partners that I've been a part of have fought hard so that we can do a number of things with that planning grant. And that's why you see locally elected officials from all over this region get on board and share their concern for that planning grant. That's why the mayor of Mount Hope has also got on board with wanting that planning grant. In western Sedgwick County, we have an issue out there of stormwater flooding. And we're not going to address the issue of flooding if we just do it in a very parochial way. We've got to do it in a much broader way out there before we're going to fix it, because all of that water doesn't care about boundary lines where cities and counties divide. And one of the ways that we can address those issues is by utilizing this planning grant. It's going to be done by local citizens. We're going to listen to local voices, and we're going to come up with a local solution to solve that problem. And this planning grant will allow us to do that.
Thank you for the question, because I voted on this issue 3 times. Once when then Commissioner Parks and myself were joined by Commissioner Welsheimer, we voted it down 3-2, but it came back about a year later and the commission had changed, and I voted against it a second time. Commissioner Ranzaw and myself voted against it, and we've done so twice. I want to commend Commissioner Ranzaw, who has really researched this issue tremendously and put together a tremendous little document that I urge you to see if you want more information on this subject. We have at the moment a tremendous number of planning organizations, and Councilman Longwell is correct that I was on WAMPO very briefly. However, this issue did not come up during the time I was on there. And I would hasten to add that we already have a Metropolitan Area Planning Department. The city and county pay for this. We have a Wichita Area Metropolitan Planning Organization that's on top of this, which covers a little bit broader area because it stretches into including Andover and I believe Mulvane, so it goes out of county a little bit. We also have a Quad Counties group that communicates on issues too, and my concern in part on this is the fact that we've already got overlapping and overlapping layers of bureaucracy. It's very confusing for the public. It's not clear where the lines of responsibility begin. And we do have some water and drainage issues out in West Wichita. We have a group in the Public Works Department that's working those issues all the time. In fact, we've done work, the Sedgwick County crew has done work inside the city of Wichita out by the northwest branch of the Y. With the dry creek problem, and actually one of the problems we've got is there are 3 dry creeks here in Sedgwick County, but the one that's very closest to the northwest branch of the Y, and drainage is always going to be an ongoing issue and challenge. But bringing the Obama regime's planning bureaucracy into Sedgwick County is not the solution to any local government problem in this community.
What I'd like you to comment on is your views in regard to the utilization of incentives that, in your opinion, if you view it this way, can make a difference in terms of promoting the expansion of businesses and jobs growth in the community, which is essential to the long-term success of this community.
Wes, there's so many different aspects to that question, because as a county commissioner, we have veto power. If a municipality approves a TIF district, for instance, we have like 30 days, and the school districts in the area do the same, to be able to approve or reject, say, that TIF district. But when it comes to the whole panoply of development tools, such as CIDs, community improvement districts, TDDs, transportation development districts, STAR bonds, there's a whole gamut of tools out there that the county has no say on, and that strictly gets powers that are reserved to the municipalities. I would share this tax increment financing TIF story because we've had two come up since I've been on the commission. First one was Plainview, a grocery store down there, excuse me. And the city council approved it. We rejected it 5-0 at the county commission. And the developer denounced the county commission and walked away from the project. But about 6 months later, another developer came up, built a bigger facility, and that store is in place and operating today without the tax increment financing subsidy. So the real challenge is what is the optimal amount of subsidy to provide, and who makes the decisions? I am much more comfortable with a market-driven approach as opposed to a top-down, and whether we're talking about a federal energy program that gives us cylinders or a local program that gives us the Ambassador Hotel. I want this community to grow and prosper, but I want equal opportunity for each and every one of you out there.
Wes, let me see if I can answer that a little more directly. At the end of the day, we've got to compete. We've got to compete for jobs. We've got to compete for businesses. We have to attract new companies to move or grow in Wichita. What I've been able to do since I've been on the city council is develop an economic development policy that guarantees a return on investment, guarantees that we're going to safeguard the taxpayers' investment in growing our job base. Because if you go right down the highway 2 hours to Oklahoma City, they're spending millions of dollars to do the same thing in cash incentives. Texas, since the early 90s, have spent hundreds of millions of dollars in cash incentives. And we've got to be in the game to compete too. But the way we do that is we guarantee a minimum return on investment. We have to have stipulations in there for personal guarantees and clawback provisions that if they don't perform, the citizens get their money back. Simple as that. Now, my opponent has voted in the past for some incentives to move companies from South Wichita to Colwich, and he voted for a variety of other incentives without the same clear definition of the policies that we have in place now. I want to make sure the county has those policies in place so that we can guarantee investment and growth and compete for jobs in our community. Jobs, just like I said before, that the Jeff Turners and Russ Myers are continuing to fight for and grow in our community, and they've had to use those incentives in our community in the past, but we make sure that that return on investment comes back to our community.
Thank you. Karl Peterjohn, City Council. I'd like to address this to Commissioner Peterjohn. As you know, the ambulance in far western Sedgwick County has been moved from Andale Road to Goddard, which makes it 25-minute response time to western Sedgwick County, far western corner. What would you do to improve that?
Well, we're playing zone defense when it comes to coverage, because I've taken a look at where the stations are that have responded to calls in the western part of the county, and you're absolutely right that the newest station, although not to be the new, we'll have a newer one up here. Actually, there's one newer that's on East Central that's newer than the one in Goddard. But the real challenge is getting people medical treatment, and I'm delighted that we're in a situation where with St. Teresa's opening up at 151st Street, getting getting emergency medical treatment and don't have to go east of the big river anymore in downtown Wichita to be able to get that treatment. But the real challenge we've got is we've got to grow the economy, and we do it based on the volume of calls that we have. And it's interesting to note that our station down in Hayesville is answering about a third of the calls that come in from the western part of the county, Morton Township in general, and you're interested in Cheney in particular, but Morton's your township, and I think this would cover also for Erie and Grand River, your other townships that are north and south of you. What we're trying to do is provide the fastest, most effective coverage that we have, considering the fact that the volume of calls is growing 4 to 5% a year, and it's going to cost us close to $1 million to put in, get a crew, get them trained, get them equipment, and put them in place. And the managers, we've been talking about whether that's going to happen or not, and I'll be interested to see what he recommends, because at the moment we've got a decline in revenue. Property taxes aren't growing the way they used to, even with the mill levy being flat, let alone being reduced. And if the economy is flat, it's going to be very hard to produce additional services unless there's more growth. And so we're going to try and do the best we can for all parts of the county, but the vehicles are often out of their stations depending upon where they think the next call is going to come in. And if you hadn't had the opportunity to visit our facility where they set that up, I urge you to do so. And I can arrange it for you, Karl.
I've been there.
My opponent mentioned the federal government earlier. One of the things that Sedgwick County and the federal government have in common is today both of them spend more than they take in. If we can streamline government and improve some of the efficiencies, I think we can find the resources so that we don't have a 25-minute wait time. I think we can look at more merging. Right now, to date, I would love to see the county do more privatizing of some of those services that I mentioned earlier. Right now, the county has their own printing operation, and they spend tens of thousands of dollars on their printing operation. If we can streamline some of those services and deliver them more efficiently and focus on those priorities that mean the most to our citizens, I think we can find the dollars so that they're not waiting 25 minutes for an ambulance.